Soul Tribe. We're going to be a week to crack down. We got a lot of Saturn in the energy in the mix. But this can be great if we put in that discipline, really ground these ideas, especially in Pisces. We really can flourish. And Saturn's really cheering us on. Stay tuned to find out how to work with these energies. But before we jump into that, for those of you who are returning, welcome back, Soul Tribe. I appreciate your subscriptions, your likes and shares. Your support really is just encouraging, especially under Saturn transits and word salad, and it keeps us growing. And for those of you who are new, welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and I'm happy Higher Self has brought you here. We're in for an amazing journey. And the purpose of this channel is that I talk about the celestial forecast, what that's going on, the planets that are just a chit-chat, and how we can get in the flow of universe and see what are some themes that are trying to get into your focus during this time. So if that is something if that's something that you want to get to know more personally before we get into this, and get to know more personally how to get into your energies and see where these planets are transiting, what aspects that they're forming with you more personally, a little bit bigger than just your sun sign astrology, then check my link down below. I offer astrology readings, and I'm getting ready to expand on that, so stay tuned. I'll be announcing that more here in the upcoming future. But it can really be very beneficial to see where the planets are, where, Jupiter just freshly entered into Gemini. Where is Gemini falling into, where does that fall into your house placements? I have Gemini in the 11th house, so I'm looking at where I can expand my network, where I can expand even on my dreams, my wishes, because the 11th house deals with that type of stuff there too. So it can be really, really big time for and I'm working on it. I got a LinkedIn cooking up right now. I got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm getting ready to. I'm getting more tech savvy. So this can be where that's just one example of how the energies invite you to get into your flow. It's not necessarily, it's one thing to just say okay, for me, I have Jupiter and Leo in the first house, but it's just okay, how does that operate? How do I bring that bigness? What does that look like for me? And that's what astrology does. It gets you asking those questions. How do you walk in that energy? How can you make especially if you're like me, your Jupiter's conjunct your Sun, how do you make it bigger? How do you make it to where it's just yeah, I'm the one. Doing a lot, but that could be Jupiter and Leo too. Just something you can get eyes on. But yeah, so if that's something that resonates with you, definitely check that down in the description box below. And you see, we're gonna have a great old time, so get on it. But let me get on it and get into the energies this week, because I'm going to be covering the week of June 6th through the 12th. Now, I don't have this one on here, but on the 6th, we're going to be that's going to be where the new moon is going to be happening. And that's where the sun and the moon are conjunct one another on that day is when they're exact conjunct. But the conjunctions are when they're within 0 to 3 degrees of one another. But if you wanted to know a bit more about what energies could be going on in that cycle, how to work with that, check out my other channel, The Chariot and Friends. I go into a lot more detail. I'm not going to cover that too much on this here, but you definitely want to look, when we're thinking about the new moon, that's where you want to set a new, where you want to plant new seeds of intention. Where this is happening, it's also happening in my 11th house. Jupiter hasn't quite entered my 11th house yet, but this gives me the idea to kind of set that intention. What is that going to start looking like? What does me networking more so look like? I put it out there, and it's I need to connect with some people that I never thought I would before. I'm really going to go for it. I got some ideas, but I'm learning where I need to grow in that is that where I'm used to being gregarious and being social in public on the internet. You would have thought I'm learning to talk for the first time. It's a whole different ballgame. I'm not used to being socially awkward, so that's been a whole experience for me. But the energies this week, because I'm going to be covering the week of June 6th through the 12th. Now, I don't have this one on here, but on the 6th, we're going to be that's going to be where the new moon is going to be happening. And that's where the sun and the moon are conjunct one another. But when we're thinking about the new moon, that's where the new That's with the new moon. It's to set new intentions to see and then apply the themes of that energy. So when we're talking about Gemini, what can you learn more? And as you can see, I'm learning social media. I'm learning how to set up a proper thing that can catch people's eye, that can maybe channel my Jupiter in Leo. How do I make more kind of color kind of pop? That sort of thing. So, but yeah, and you want to look, maybe this is happening in your fifth house. Maybe you're looking into more ways to play, maybe more hobbies. Maybe this is maybe going out on more dates. The fifth house can deal with romance and things. So, or this could be in the ninth house. Maybe you're wanting to look into different areas that you want to visit, or maybe you want to look into different areas that you want to study, or however you want to expand. So yeah, just look again, check in your chart to see where you have these Gemini placements in your things. It's happening at 16 degrees of Gemini, 18 minutes. Bam, I think it's 16 degrees, 18 minutes. So see that where that's fallen. Now let's get into the next energy, because on Saturn Day, that's a Saturday, the 8th of June, at about 1:25 a.m., and that'll be Pacific time, Venus is going to be forming a square with Saturn at 19 degrees and 3 minutes of Gemini, and Saturn will be in Pisces. Now, with the squares, that's when the planets are 90 degrees apart. And so usually you'll have for example, with Gemini, the squares would be with either Pisces or with Virgo. For Cancer, it would be with Libra or Aries, Taurus, Leo, or Aquarius, and you just go around like that. But usually it's where tension is happening, where you may find delays, where you may find challenges. I find that a constructive way to work with the squares is they look at a place where you need to take action, or maybe where you even need to take inaction. Because I feel like when you have a lot of delays, that's when it's a time to pause for a minute and see what you have been. And this is actually perfect with Venus in Saturn. If you've been, for example, noticing that there's been a lot of hiccups here in what you've been in what your goal has been going, this can be to see, pay attention to what you've been attracting, because Venus is one of the parts of Venus is what we attract. And when we're thinking about Gemini is very observant. Gemini is more than just about communication and what we think, but pay attention to how we've been communicating, the stuff that we've been listening to. Maybe there's been something in our environment that has been getting in the way of getting something to fruition. Maybe you're trying to start a business, but maybe it's the type of people that you're listening to. Maybe they have a certain way of doing it and you're needing a different way. Or this could be where maybe there's something in this could be in what you're viewing, maybe even on it can be a number of things. Just pay attention to, I feel, because when we're thinking Saturn and Pisces too, there is an awareness and a boundaries that is coming on when we're talking about Pisces. So we want to be aware about what's just coming into our realm all the time, even from our social media does. I also feel with this square, this could be where I got a lot of stuff coming on in my head. Let me slow this down a little bit. I also feel with this Venus squared Saturn that this could be where some ideas, maybe a clash of ideas, could come to the forefront. Maybe you have a collaborative project that you're working on, maybe let's say in a business, and then you have your partner that wants one thing and you have you that wants another thing, where that could you just lead to just a whole big mess. What we could do, the thing that I was thinking of when I was kind of meditating on this energy, is if we come to those place of conflict, those can be great opportunities for co-creation. I'm getting I picture the Five of Wands energy when I think about this. And it can be, I'm thinking where red had a problem and blue had a problem, when they come together and get a solution, they make purple. And so that's what this energy wants you to do, just to make purple, is to come up with some new ideas, to let innovation come from challenge. So, and when we're thinking about Pisces and Gemini too, those are two very visible signs of duality. And so we want to keep a flexible mind, I feel, especially when we're talking about conversations with others. Something I feel that could maybe come up too, that maybe Saturn brings to the awareness, where there could be some delays, and where the delays again could be a blessing in disguise, is where you may have had a lot of ideas, possibly maybe you've been talking, or maybe you've been listening to a lot of the hype that's been going on. I mean, because we've had like a lot of like planetary shifts, for example, with the from the eclipse to Jupiter and Uranus having a conjunction, to Jupiter and Pluto just forming a trine. And, there's going to be more stuff that's going on. But, maybe in the influx of these energies, there's been like I have all these dreams, but now Saturn's like, okay, that's great. You have all these dreams. How are you going to do it? And that could be where it's just like, oh, well, okay, maybe what do I need to change? I'm thinking about Venus. What do I need to change in order to attract the things that I want to? What in my immediate environment do I need to shift? Maybe it's listening. If we're starting a business, maybe we're listening to more people who are doing the business, and who's maybe even more specifically doing it in your craft. Or this is just one example, or if you're trying to maybe just change a diet, this could be where we're making more, I don't know, making more, maybe instead of shopping at the regular store, maybe we're shopping at the farmer's market, possibly there, whatever that may be looking like. But that's just another way I could see how this could come up, where Saturn's not meant to be discouraging, when he's bringing up these challenges. Saturn, I feel honestly, is probably the biggest cheerleader of all of the planets, because he wants you to come into your authentic self. He's the original guardian of both Capricorn and Aquarius, which are, I'm thinking about the Aquarius side of this, is that in that being your unique self betters the collective, betters us as a whole. But no one can do your dream like you. How do I want to explain this? It's like Saturn wants you to hold the dream, but realize that there are going to be some things that you're going to have to do by yourself, and there are some things that you're also going to need to ask help for as well. And that could even be where this challenge could come up here soon too. So again, a lot of like Saturn kind of takes us out of our comfort zone, but it's for the better. When we put in that work, Saturn really does reward. Now, a little bit later in this day, at about 9:35 a.m., Mars is going to be entering into Taurus. And this is another kind of slower kind of energy here. We've been moving a lot, I feel, with like all this Gemini energy, but I feel like it's like something's been wanting to take off. I'm picturing like it's almost like you're spinning the wheels, but the vehicle's in park. That's what I feel like this energy has been kind of been doing, but I feel like it's been like that for a reason. And especially when we're talking about Mars and Taurus, because when we're getting ready to invest a lot of energy, because Taurus has the stamina to build and to grow, but it's like we want to make sure that the things that you're focusing on, the things that you're giving all of this Martian energy to, is going to be something that you are going to actually appreciate later. Or was it just something that we were maybe either doing out of fear of, because everyone else wants this thing, or this has been something that we've been, where it's like we're looking outside of our values, where it's like, and that's why I feel like it was really kind of important to kind of talk about that with Venus, what we're kind of attracting in right now, because I feel like that is what will manifest. I feel like there's going to be a more visible signs of where your attention goes, the energy flows in a sense, is what I'm really kind of feeling. And I feel like that can be where this Mars is kind of slowing you down to make sure, like, does this thing, like, do I want to continue to put this energy here, or is this constricting something else, But this can also be, when we're thinking about in Taurus, this can be really great investment energy, when we're thinking about that. So this can be where you want to be a little patient, kind of test the waters, not maybe immediately saying yes to something, to wanting to see the blueprint, really kind of have like a guess list, not to overthink it, but to make sure that it has a steady foundation, at least there's some, like, it's something that you can build off of. You can see like, okay, I could work with this like 6 months, a year from now. Okay, like that sort of thing is what I'm picturing this energy is kind of going here. So just something to consider there. Now on Sunday, the 9th of June, we have a couple more transits here. We have now the next square that's going to be happening. We have the sun that's going to be squaring Saturn, and this will be at 19 degrees and 5 minutes. The sun in Gemini, Saturn still in Pisces. And this is going to be the degree where Saturn is going to be stationing retrograde. Saturn's already been kind of slowing down a little bit. So, and a Saturn retrograde really can be a very powerful time to just get things, because sometimes that solitude is what we need with Saturn, but that's going to be happening towards the end of the month. But now when we're getting the sun in the mix, I feel like this could be where maybe we had, because the sun is a sense of who we are, and this could be where you could see where maybe you've been slacking possibly here, with maybe you've had this dream but you haven't been putting anything behind it. It's just been maybe a lot of ideas, but it's just like, now how do you really get this thing going? Again, it's like, how is this thing actually defining you? Okay, it's like you want this thing, so let's do the learning, let's put in the being both the, because when we're thinking about Gemini, and even again with Pisces, is that both that master and student energy, that student teacher type of thing. And yeah, I feel like this could be where, in order to get if we're trying to start something up here, is that we're going to have to really start being in that flow. So if you're wanting to maybe go visit that country, maybe this is starting to learn the language behind it, make it more approachable, because that could be, so then we can knock off an excuse off the list. Well, I don't want to go because I got to do this. And then now we could just focus on, okay, now how am I going to financially get there? Or, that's just one way to speak. It's kind of hard when you're speaking like in sort of generally here, but I feel that this again is a very important thing to just kind of take your time with, just like, who am I becoming, and where is it that I'm feeling any sort of discomfort, or where are some things that have been brought into my awareness that I thought I was going to do one thing, but maybe I want to do it in a different direction. And how it can apply to your situation, because I feel like it'll tie in with the next energy that's happening, because Mercury is going to be forming a sextile with the North Node at 13 degrees and in 10 minutes, Mercury in Gemini and the North Node in Aries. Now, the sextiles are when the planets are 60 degrees apart. And sextiles are forming this energies of opportunity. They're more of a passive energy. But I feel that if we were to take this slow down, really just kind of meditate as far as like, what have I been doing? Where have I been growing? What's been gravitating towards me? Where have I been gravitating towards? Then this could give you a clear idea of like, oh, maybe this isn't where I wanted to go. I need to shift gears. That gives you an opportunity to kind of course correct when we're thinking about the North Node, because the North Node is where it's like your North Star, where you're going into uncharted territories, where your soul's trying to gain towards. And now your mind, Mercury, is it's in your awareness, and so this could be where either you're changing gears on something, or maybe you're doubling down on something. You're like, oh, this is more exciting than I thought it could be, and I was a little afraid about going forward and committing, but maybe I need to like really, really go, like jump all the way in with that. This can be an opportunity for that as well, because Aries and Gemini, that can be really exciting. That could be where you're just letting your inner child just kind of roam free a little bit, or we're just letting inspiration just kind of let you flow, so that's something I feel to just kind of think about with this energy. And if you've been feeling And I feel, and I would say, pay attention to any sort of like frustrations that may come up, where you may feel trapped or maybe feel, again, like you're maybe, I don't know, like it's like I'm picturing like a back against the wall or something. And it's like knowing you're more resourceful than you realize. And maybe even for some, even communicating these concerns, even if this is just with yourself, just getting to where it's not just trapped in the mind, if this is something you've been kind of turning the gears on as of late. Just something to consider there too. Now, on Mars Day, Tuesday, the 11th of June, in my hourglass, at about a little after midnight, 12 after midnight, Venus is going to be forming a sextile with Chiron, and Venus is going to be at 22 degrees 40 minutes of Gemini, Chiron in Aries. And Chiron is where we have the wound that we never heal, but when we tend to it in ourselves, it helps us to tend in that in others. And it's like in helping that in others, it helps us heal ourselves. And so with this happening with Venus and Aries, this can be where you're learning more about your North Node, getting more familiar with those kind of vulnerable places and how you can turn them into strengths. The ones that you feel ready to turn into strengths. The ones, these stories that would make someone, that was just like, wait, how could you have gotten through that? And you're this person who you're at, because you never know how empowering that can be for someone, who can, and I'm not saying that you have to do this. This is just when I feel like, again, those ones that feel ready to be really healed. I feel like you can just do a lot of great stuff when we operate from our Chiron, and when we consider other people's Chiron placements as well, because just like we all have a Venus placement, everyone has a Chiron placement. Mine's in Cancer in the 12th house. And there was a time, prior to this, that I did have a tough time with spirituality and just like letting go of just like this, because my sun is tied up with my North Node, or excuse me, with my South Node, is oddly opposed to my North Node. And I kind of got in it for a while, but I could always give the greatest advice for people who are going through situations that I was going through, but I had the hardest time applying that. And so now in giving that out, I've been learning to apply that to myself and consider myself with that grace as well. And it's a practice. I'm not perfect at it, but it improves. And I feel like down the line, it's helped some people. I hope so. So that's what I feel this could just bring about, an opportunity to just explore your vulnerability a little bit and to see, just some of those maybe that you're just ready to release, and maybe even see how that relationship has changed, how that can shock you sometimes, how where something could have had such power over you, now you can approach it with a bit more curiosity, with a bit more bravery, Gemini and Aries. So, and then on that same day, a little bit later still early in the day, at about 6:21, Mars is going to be forming a square with Pluto retrograde, which is going to be happening. Mars will be at 1 degrees 45 minutes of Taurus and Pluto in Aquarius. Now, with this, because now we're talking about Mars and his higher octave Pluto. It's almost like I like to think about when Venus and Neptune, Mercury and Uranus, Mars and Pluto are in a conversation. It's like, picture like you and whatever you consider a higher power talking. And now there's some sort of conflict that's going on here. I feel like on a personal level, this could be where Pluto brings about, especially in Aquarius, this is going to be where you've not been your authentic self, where you've maybe done something to please the crowd, or that you've done something to diminish yourself, and now there's something inside that your energies are no longer that's no longer working with you. And this could either be where just more and I would say, again, that's why I say be mindful of frustrations. This would be another key one to pay attention to, any sort of frustrations or things that come up in regards to that. And even if this is like in regards to maybe feeling really frustrated with people, what is it that it, because people are a reflection of what's going on inside. Is it the people that I'm attracting, or is there something that, it gives us a chance. Gemini gives us a chance to be inquisitive, to look at it from both sides of the spectrum. So yeah, this could just be where, yeah, you can see where something is no longer it's no longer in your value system. It's no longer, and it's like, and it's making a point to be seen, to so just really kind of pay attention to that. I feel when we're talking Mars and Pluto, this could be really, really aggressive. So I would just say, too, if that's something that you've noticed that you're still working with, learning, to keep yourself in a space that you just feel cool, calm, that you can maybe run this stuff off. This is very, when we're getting to Mars and Pluto, that is where the energy things, where if you're feeling blocked and you're not sure how to express it, move the body, and that could help get a lot of stuff out. Just run as hard as you can for as long as you can. Maybe punch a bag. Maybe this is doing some hot yoga. But I think a lot can come up with this, especially when we're talking Pluto retrograde. This can really, some deep healing work could come from this, well, as where some energetic blockages could be moved, some self things that maybe diminish your self-worth. So that's just something too, I feel, to think about. And then I think that's all I got there. And then the last one, on Mercury Day, Wednesday, the 12th of June, at about 3:47, Mercury is going to be forming, the final personal planet is going to be forming a square with Saturn, because Mars will be doing it later, but we'll be forming a square with Saturn at 19 degrees and 11 minutes. Mercury and Gemini, I'll let you guess where Saturn's at. But what I feel with this one, this could come up as, I could see this as some mental blocks, maybe getting in your own way. And I would say, observe, if you do find yourself hitting that wall, observe yourself getting in your way, and why does that happen? What is that? Allow yourself to not just let it be a thought, but to again, this is a time to swim in. I'm just thinking with Gemini and Pisces, there's so much curiosity that's happening with both, because both can see. Gemini is noticing like your immediate surroundings, everything around you, and Pisces is the things outside of that. But I just feel that if you're having any kind of mental blocks and things, this can be a time to sit with why these blocks are happening. Maybe you just need a break. It could just really be just that simple, just like you've been working too much. I get that you have this, and that, but you also have a body that needs rest, that needs this, that needs food, that needs all the stuff. So this could be where I feel too, because when I think about Saturn teaches us self-respect. And I feel this could be too where you could be forming boundaries with yourself, as far like more so enforcing boundaries with, maybe you won't be speaking to yourself in a certain type of way. Like how if someone were to talk with you crazy like that, but in the reverse, when we happen to tell ourselves any sort of negative things, self-deprecating things, and even however that goes, because I've known when I used to get into it, it was man. But that could be where I've had to be firmer with myself, where it's just like, what, no, you can't talk to me like that, and I won't allow it, and I apologize for talking, and really treat it like that, because I feel when you treat yourself like that, it is easier to treat others like that too, and you attract others who treat you like that, because that's how you've learned to meet yourself. And so that's one thing that could come up for that too. I feel like another thing that could be just like a clash of ideas, as far as like, maybe there's something that you hear, maybe a certain thought gets challenged. But again, I feel like if you can approach it from a curious standpoint, as opposed to like attaching, Gemini keeps stuff kind of light, like there's no need to be so serious. That's Gemini. And so I feel that this can be a time just to really treat yourself with some grace. Kind of take it slow. This whole week, I feel, is just one of just kind of taking things a little bit slower, moving with more awareness, more intention with what's coming up, how we could be more disciplined with the energies that are coming in with. And that's something too, I feel this kind of Saturn whole theme with Saturn is kind of let's see if I can spit it out. Encompassing is that there is so much. We are moving faster. There is so much that's coming in with how technology is expanding in things and how we are able to get stuff out there. So be aware of that. Make sure to have balance time when we're unplugged for a bit and checked in with life, checked in with how the body's doing. Do you feel overly stimulated? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel hungry, thirsty, sleepy, whatever that is? And I know that may seem kind of basic, but sometimes you can forget about those things when you get caught up in the stuff and the distractions and how these things can pull you into different worlds sometimes. And so just something I feel to just consider with this week. But hopefully you found little nuggets of wisdom to work with that. And if you have any questions about how these energies may come up with you, and I'd be love to hear about how these are coming up for you in this leave comments down in the description box. So let's talk about this. Let's see how we can work with this stuff. What are some examples of how this may be looking like for you when this, because this is happening, these personal plans, they're all happening at least once a year when this is going on. So how is this one different from the one that when Venus squared Saturn last year for you? Or, just, and it gives you these markers to look back to as well, help you kind of helpful guidelines to kind of track. I still remember a time when Pluto I think Pluto just went direct or was just going retrograde. I think we just went direct, and I got a big lesson on that one. I had to, but it gives you markers. So I know to look out for this Pluto retrograde. I was very prepared this time. So, but yeah, if that's something that you want to learn a bit more, definitely check that information down in the description box below. And then if you have Cancer placements or just curious about what's going on with the moon, check out my other channel, Alchemist 8. All the information is down in the description box below. But stay mindful out there, stay present, get in the flow of universe, flow of your energies, and raise that vibration to the roof. And I will catch you on the next one. Later.